The takes are flowing after the Minnesota Vikings defeated the New York Jets and advanced to 5-0. Only two undefeated teams are left in the NFL. The Kansas City Chiefs and your Minnesota Vikings. How many people had that predicted at this point in time? While you're here, hit that subscribe button right there. And remember to like the YouTube channel right here. And if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, please rate, review, and subscribe to the show. But we're going to be discussing a hot take from Judd Zulgad on the Score North Purple Daily channel. I love what Purple Daily does. Their content is incredible. Their consistency is amazing. And their follower/fan base is awesome. Because you take a look at what they do on a regular basis, and you especially take a look at their numbers following a Minnesota Vikings win or loss, and their watches, views, subscribers count after a game is skyrocketing every single Sunday. It's got like 50-something thousand views by people calling in and doing that thing. So they do an incredible job. And the day after games, they always share their hottest Minnesota Vikings take. And Judd Zulgad comes with the craziest Minnesota Vikings hot take I think I've ever seen.
If he hadn't started the season, J.J. McCarthy would be this team's starting quarterback against the Detroit Lions in their next game.
Hot take.
J.J. McCarthy would replace Sam Darnold.
What?
That's my hot take too.
You're saying if he was healthy right now and just
Yes.
the backup to the first week,
They would make the bye week change, and here's why.
That's
Here's
my
why.
hot take.
Sam Darnold has played, to his credit, he's been great. But you know what? Kevin O'Connell has taken this car. He has stressed this car to its limits. To its limits. And against the good defense on Sunday in the Jets, we saw the car start to rattle, shake, rattle, and roll. Kevin O'Connell's not going to change the way that he wants to call games. That's becoming very clear. He is, as we talked about last week after the Packers game, he is all gas and no brakes. And he has taken Darnold as far as you can take him against good teams, which, by the way, the more the season develops, and if you get to the playoffs, you're going to be playing really good teams, i.e. good defenses. J.J. McCarthy, I've told you this from the get-go, and Phil, you saw this in practice too. He's got an it factor about him. He's got a confidence about him. He has an ability that I think Kevin O'Connell could have used to take that next step. Kevin O'Connell would have switched to J.J. McCarthy at the bye.
Judd is a very impressive media outlet that follows the Minnesota Vikings. He's at every single practice. He's always asking Kevin O'Connell questions at his press conferences, and he's a viable guy. But there's a couple of problems with this take. One, the segment is called Vikings Hot Takes after their Week 5 win. So what they are doing is coming with the hottest takes that they think are somewhat fathomable. It doesn't necessarily mean that they believe it. You just got to come up with a hot take. Well, what's going to move the needle? Well, J.J. McCarthy starting Week 5 or Week 6 or Week 7 after the bye week, whatever it is. So that's one issue with it. And the second issue is if you're going to there's a reason why I personally don't say bold predictions coming up for the Minnesota Vikings 2024-2025 season. I'm not going to call it a bold prediction. I'm just going to call it a prediction, okay? The reason why I don't call it a bold prediction is because I feel like there's a big caveat there when you say bold prediction. There's a caveat that says, you know what? It's a bold prediction, so I don't really believe it, but it's bold, so like it sounds sexy. It kind of gives you an out. Plus, this is an out, too. J.J. McCarthy, it's a great take by Judd because he can't be proven wrong. It's one of those takes where it's like, well, the Minnesota Vikings would have won the Super Bowl in 2010 if Brett Favre didn't get injured or if Sidney Rice didn't get injured. It's like, okay, you can spit off that take all you want, but You can't be proven right and you can't be proven wrong, so I'm just going to go out and say it. It's one of those things. The Minnesota Timberwolves would have won the title last year if Karl Anthony Towns didn't hurt his knee in the playoffs. Okay? Prove me wrong. Well, you can't. That's the beauty of those kind of takes. But in all seriousness, not that I wasn't being serious before, but Judd Zulgad and this take is unfair to J.J. McCarthy because what I could not imagine a more terrible situation to throw your rookie quarterback into. Your team is 5-0. Sam Darnold is still second in touchdown passes for the NFL season, despite his struggles against the Jets. Now, Judd is right. You can only take Sam Darnold so far. But when that ship starts sinking, that's when you replace him with J.J. McCarthy. You don't take a 5-0 Sam Darnold, who has a good rhythm for 4 out of the 5 weeks of this season, is top 5 in MVP standings, has the Minnesota Vikings defeating Super Bowl favorites, has 11 touchdowns, 3 interceptions entering week 5, has one bad game, and then you put in your rookie quarterback. Could you imagine the amount of pressure and the amount of hate Kevin O'Connell would receive if J.J. McCarthy goes out there and stinks for 2 or 3 games? Because now you're comparing J.J. McCarthy to Sam Darnold in the first 5 weeks of the season. You're not comparing J.J. McCarthy to the Sam Darnold with the Jets or the Panthers. You're comparing J.J. McCarthy to 5-0 Sam Darnold. And this is a massive switch, and the Minnesota Vikings are riding a lot of momentum. They're 5-0. They got a perfect record. If the Vikings were 2-3, if they were 3-2 and Darnold just didn't look right for multiple games in a row, even if they were 4-1 and Darnold was hot garbage, like 4 touchdowns, 8 picks, but somehow the Vikings defense scored a bunch of touchdowns to win these games. Well, that's one thing. But Darnold is playing out of his mind throughout 90% of this season. I guess 80% of the season. 4 games out of 5. 4 out of 5 is 80%. So you don't take out Sam Darnold right now. And I'm going to go back to what I said earlier. It's a hot take. It's designed to be a hot take. It's designed to be spicy. And it gets lots of views, lots of watches. I think they do a great job. But you got to also understand the intent of this take. Maybe he believes it, maybe he doesn't. But it's a hot take segment. So if it's a thought, well, let's just make it a hot take. And it can't be proven wrong. But there is no way J.J. McCarthy would replace Sam Darnold right now because it would be unfair to the development of J.J. McCarthy and unfair to Sam Darnold, a guy that has led the and I should be careful about using the word unfair because that sounds very babyish. Oh, it's unfair. Okay, it's the National Football League. Let's not be ridiculous here. But it would not be good for the development of J.J. McCarthy to all of a sudden make a switch after Darnold has this train rolling. If Darnold goes out there, plays terrible against the Lions, and the Vikings get destroyed, that's one thing to replace him with J.J. McCarthy. If he goes out there and plays terrible against the Lions and then has another bad half against the next team, well, then that's another thing to put J.J. McCarthy in at halftime. But not right now. Not when this train is moving full force. Not when Sam Darnold, even though he performed worse than he has against the Jets, still led a massive field goal drive to put the Minnesota Vikings up 6 and to give the Minnesota Vikings defense a chance to seal the deal by intercepting Aaron Rodgers. So as bad as he was good in moments. So I disagree with the take. And I think it's a hot take. So I think it's designed to be disagreeable. But Judd does a phenomenal job. So does Purple Daily. I just had to react to it.